Hello, welcome everyone to another presentation here in the Issues Room. Today we're having a presentation, a special one here for all of you, our viewers out there in cyberspace. This special edition focuses on Liberia's Independence Day celebration. Today is July 26, 2022. We're celebrating our 175th Independence Day in Liberia, here in the diaspora, and all over the world. We'd like to welcome all of you, our listeners and viewers, wherever you are, to this 76th edition here in the Issues Room. My name is Volcano Shelton. We'll be joined momentarily by our guest, Randy Darpoh, Jay Randy Darpoh. In the meantime, Moses Sandy is out there in Newcastle, Delaware. Welcome. Happy 26th, my man.
Wish you the same. And let me say, wish all of the people of Liberia the same. Today, our country turned 175 years old. So I'm happy to be back in the issues room, discuss those contemporary issues that matter most. Join us as we celebrate 175 years of political existence as a country.
175. The number is so big, but we can't see what we've done with ourselves for 175 years. I'm looking at your background and look at West Point for 175 years, still full of shacks
Yes.
and and scanty, image. We could have done more with those 175 years, especially with the picturesque view we have, the scenery and the landscape and the landmark. We were just blessed to begin this movement of a country, right, on the continent
Mhm.
of Africa. But I say we blew it. We only came to find a place to crash. I don't think that our forefathers came to do what they were supposed to do, and now we give it to our born native Liberians who were born there and they themselves are worse than the forefathers who came. So it was just a place to come crash, Moses. And like I'm coming to Delaware, I
Well,
say, my man,
I
Delaware,
understand. Yeah,
I'm coming to come crash.
yeah.
So if
Just
I
go
come to
and chill
Delaware
out.
to crash, so if
Yeah.
I come to Delaware to crash, eventually I'm not going to be doing anything. If Moses, if Moses ain't pay his light bill, like business, Moses ain't pay his water, I'm not contributing. So I came to crash. And every time I think about the formation of our country,
No,
what
you
we
don't
found
care. All you
since
want to know is to have
175.
fun.
Say that again. What you said, Moses?
Yeah, no, I say it's like you just want to have fun. You don't care whether the bills are paid or not. You just want to enjoy yourself. It's Moses' responsibility.
Yeah. So then the indigenous people quiver all the time for 100 plus years. They said they were being marginalized. They were struggling and this and that. And unfortunately, what happened? They gave them the country and
No
look at what
accomplishment.
they've done with it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, Moses, if you're hearing me. You seem disconnected. Can you hear me?
Uh, I'm not. You're coming in and out. That's the problem. I don't know what is happening at your end. Do you hear me?
I'm hearing you clear. That's what I'm wondering what's happening with you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm listening to you, but you come in and out. Okay. Right now, you sound real audible.
Okay. So
I'm
so
hearing
as
you
I was
now. Okay.
so okay. So as I was saying, I said that the indigenous people cried that they were being enslaved, that they were not given a fair share to take the country. And so they took the country in 1980. But since 1980 to where we are, not much has been changed. So when I look at the construct of Liberia, it just tells me that the free slaves were looking for somewhere to go and crash. And after they took them out of power, the people who took them out of power themselves were not prepared, even up to this day. At 175 years, the only thing we can brag of, we are the first country on the continent of Africa. That's all we always say. Oh, the oldest republic. But what is the oldest republic showing for this status?
Absolutely nothing. Bad governance, misrule, extreme poverty. As you celebrate 175 years of political existence, Volcano, the independence of any nation is like the birth anniversary of anybody. Your birthday. When your birthday comes, you do what? Self reflection, right? You want to know where you were years ago, where you are now, and what your plans are for the future. And so that's what we have come to do today, to look at Liberia from a holistic standpoint
So let's quickly
after
run into trending news.
175 years of existence.
Let's go into trending news
Yeah,
quick. Let's,
today,
let's be very
today,
somber.
yeah, today is Liberia's independence anniversary. So the celebration, as I speak to you right now, is going on in Monrovia and other parts of Liberia. As the country celebrates 175 years of political existence, the vision bearer and political leader of the People's Liberation Party, Dr. Daniel Cassell, has accused the Weah administration of thievery. He says Liberians, whether or not Weah's administration, have nothing to celebrate, calling it, 175 years of existence. He says the government is insensitive to the plight of the people. Corruption, according to Dr. Cassell, is uncontrollable in Weah's Liberia. And as Dr. Cassell spoke today during his uh, nationwide address to Liberians Independence Day, his independence message, Liberians, students of the Student Unification Party at the University of Liberia, turned out today. I think it was a real coincidence. The student turned out to stage what they call fix the country protest against the Weah administration. And they reiterated similar comments that emanated from Dr. Cassell. The students said the administration is insensitive to the plight of the people, little investment in the areas of education, health, and social development. So, as the students were protesting, CDC diehards, referring to themselves as the CDC patriots, also took to the street. They went to the U.S. Embassy where the students were protesting. They went to counter the protest being staged by the students. They dislodged the students. They started throwing stones. The students took to the community. They went after them. And not only did they do that, the CDC diehards went into private homes and disrupted the lives of ordinary Liberians that reside within the vicinity of the U.S. embassy. I saw a video and I saw a group of women complaining that they were cooking, and the CDC diehards or the patriots reportedly wasted their food, entered their homes and wasted their food. Another hardship, July 26th. To me, all of this happening of Volcano tell us that our country is sitting on the time bomb. That's what I have from my end.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Again, if you're just joining us, welcome to the Issues Room. Our presentation here tonight centers around the 175th birth anniversary of our nation, Liberia. It came about in 1847 on this day, July 26th, and we've come a long way. But like the discussion here tonight, you will see that we've not done much except for being the oldest independent country on the nation, on the continent. Tonight we have Eman Sumo. Welcome, my brother. Welcome to the Issues Room. Your Montreal Krenga, watching from Minnesota. It's good to have you in. Share the link, invite others. Conversation here tonight will be Very interesting. We're going to open the lines very early because we want you to engage. We probably might do a 2 hour show since it's the celebration. So, Moses, we have Randy backstage and he's ready to join us. Randy, you are live. If you can hear me, you're live. Welcome back to the
I
Issues
see
Room.
Mr. Darpoh in the background. Yeah.
So, today we're
Randy,
celebrating.
welcome, man. Man, July
Thank you.
26th, oh.
Yeah, the tourism, the tourism will turn to something else. But
So,
you
the Issues Room 26 is on you.
let me look around. Where is it? At? Somewhere here. Somewhere.
You
Yeah,
see the,
my man, that
you see
26 on you. You can't take it
that
from on
scotch
you.
Welcome, Marie Pratt
We
from
put the
Atlanta. It's
26 on
so
the
good to have
man, my
you.
man.
I know, right?
Listen, gentlemen,
Yeah.
we want to go straight into the
Welcome, bro.
conversation.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here
Sure.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to go straight into
Okay.
the conversation. Um, all of us on this platform and our viewers tonight know that Liberia is 175 years today. This day, we gained our independence. We became a sovereign nation. Um, and over the years, we've celebrated this very holiday. This year is of no exception. It's nothing new. So the Liberian president, Manuel, decided to uh, I don't know if if he appointed or he assigned, how you want to put it, his commerce minister Mawani Deeks to uh, serve as orator. Um, so he had his finance minister in the first year when he became president, um, who was the orator. So it seemed as though um, he's electing people who will praise him, who will not do a critical analysis of the country's uh, you know, progress, where he's at, and where we're going. Um, but we see that previously, when Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was president, she drew from a cross section of the country to select her orators. But this time, President Weah is more focused on the people in his circle. So let's just first look at these elections. Tell me what really this mean to begin with. And I would like to start with you, Moses. And let's be brief because we have a lot of things
Well,
to talk about.
we have a lot to cover. Yeah. You said it all. Uh, the selection of orators from within the CDC or within government cycle is that the administration wants individuals that will come and shower praises on the presidency. Mr. Weir does not want any orator that will come and take a critical look at Liberia in terms of progress and challenges, vision. He wants individuals that will say, Baku is strong, is strong, is strong. That's what he wants. And comparatively, when Ellen Johnson Sirleaf led Liberia, orators in the past, Independence Day orators in the past, were drawn from the larger Liberian society. Ordinary people came, they spoke truth to power. And not only that, the celebration was centralized. The venue
You meant
rotated
decentralized.
from one county. Yeah, yeah, it was decentralized. Yeah, it was decentralized. The venue rotated from one county to another, and they had ordinary Liberians speaking power. Uh, Kimmy Weeks, I remember, was one time an orator in the Salif administration. Uh, Councillor Vani Sherman, senator of Grand Cape County, also became an orator during the Salif administration, and he also spoke what? Truth to power. In today's Liberia, that is not the case. Mawani Dees, who spoke today, She went to praise George Weah. Samuel 12, who spoke in the past, he praised George Weah. Everything was about praises. In terms of tangibles, I don't think any of those guys were able to really tell Liberians where the country is now in terms of tangibles. But all was about praising Mr. Weah. When you celebrate your independence like your birthday, you do a holistic look at yourself, self-appraisal. The normal lifespan of a human being is 70. So if you're 50, it means that hypothetically you got 20 more years to live. So you want to know where you have been over the years, what have you accomplished, why you lived 50 years, and what your plans are for the next 20 years. And I think that's the kind of oration that Liberians look forward to. So I would like to pause there and give Mr. Randy the opportunity to go forward.
Yes, again, I would like to say thanks to you, Brother Moses and Brother Volcano, for allowing me to be here again on this platform. I'm getting some type of feedback. Is that coming from me or from you guys?
Go ahead, just keep talking.
Okay, cool. All right.
All
So, I would like to say thank you to
Yeah, okay.
you guys for giving me the opportunity. I would like to discuss tonight's issue as it relates to our Independence Day celebration from a logical window, if you will. I would say the independence that we celebrate or we have celebrated and continue to celebrate is meaningless to us, and we are then unable to actually define our destiny because of how we classify our independence to be. Our independence wasn't really an independence, so to speak, because Liberia did not become a country based on some colonial power, where we felt that this colonial power was disenchanting the generation that they were oppressing, and there were people who knew that by the year 2022, if we don't do anything with the colonial power, they will not only suck our resources, but they will incapacitate us. Well, will be very, very underprivileged in time to come. We were never colonized by any country. So if we profess to be a country that celebrates independence, then what were the objective of even fighting for independence when we, to begin with, did not fight for any independence? That being said, today and in the past celebration, it got no benchmark, it got no target, no accomplishment in terms of the sectors that we are challenged with today. And because none of those things became an indicators that we can measure today as a key performance indicators in the life of our people and generation in the past, I think it's just meaningless to celebrate July 26th because we were never colonized by any country. Guinea, Sierra Leone, Ghana, these countries suffered colonial power and they fought for their independence. So at the day or on the day of their independence, they remember where the country was, and every independent, they look at where they are today. And that's why you had different orators, whether it's coming from the opposition, whether they come from the civil society group or from the government. With that being said, Mr. Weah is no different from any other leader who believes that people should worship him at every cost. So he carefully select people who will worship him. And not to say that people, I mean, in his government that are not good enough. And for me, I would stick my neck off for Edmund Glasgow, who is part of the National Fishery. That institution was actually dead. I don't know the woman from nowhere, and nobody should say that I have some connection. No, but what I do here as a Liberian who believe that people should marry what they work for, Brother Fukano, that lady in the fisher industry, I think she have put the fisher industry on a level where people can now see what she has done. And with that kind of performance she has carried out in our industry, it may not be 100%, it might be acceptable to everyone. At least she had tried to do some things where the international partner had recognized. some of that achievement, because that's an achievement under the WIA administration. That's an achievement should have been commended by WIA, and then the public out here will be able to come out and say yes. But to have Madame Dix, who professes to come from a university, but hasn't been able to reshape and redefine that Ministry of Commerce to give businesses, to give Liberians the opportunity to say, you know what, the before Ministry of Commerce is not today Ministry of Commerce, to go out there and talk about our independence. Let me say this to Liberia. Liberia, Liberians, why are we celebrating independence? When we basically see our people living in slavery with insecurity and economic hardship. Why else do we celebrate independence? Why else?
Let me just throw this in. And you talked
Yeah.
about like you were not being colonized, which is a fact. So prior to you coming, I mentioned to Moses that when I continue to look at Liberia from a over the time thought process, my thinking here is that these guys who were oppressed here in America wanted to find a place where they could go and crash. So they came to Liberia to crash. And when a person comes and crash, you're not going to get much out of him.
Mm.
If I come call you and say, hey, Randy, I'm coming to your neck of the woods, man, but I'll be with you for 2 weeks. I'm just coming to crash.
Mm-hmm.
These folks were coming to a place where they were not sure what they wanted for themselves. They just wanted to get away from the situation here in America, just like Liberians were trying to get away from the Civil War and they were going to other countries around the world. They didn't know what to expect. And so I believe it's the same premise that they had. Where are we going? And then they come and they meet this place and they find a way to survive. And so then the oppression starts. So if the native man felt oppressed under the rule of the True Party over the years, then come 1980, they could have declared independence. They could have declared a new nation. They could have done all of those things and start anew, like Zimbabwe. But they didn't do it. And what did they do? They followed the same pattern. The very Samuel Doe became another corrupt president beyond corruption. Here comes Charles Taylor, here comes Ellen Johnson, and here comes George Weah. And all of them are claimed to be native Liberians who took the helm of leadership. So this is the fact. So there's no patriotism in our independence. When you fight for something, like you said, the Guineans fought for their independence, the Zimbabweans fought for their independence, the South Africans fought for their independence because they felt oppressed. So if the native Liberian fought the Congo American Liberians who had come over time and felt that they were being oppressed and took their country back in 1980, then they should have done it on the premise of patriotism and to move the country forward.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it didn't happen. So that
Yeah.
is why we're stuck in a quagmire. When you look at it, we can't G no whore because there's no patriotism to this country.
So yeah, what we
There's
can
no
do?
patriotism.
So yeah, what we can do, right? So with the timeline you just gave, let me just put it into a content here for your audience to understand. From 1847, the leadership we had created a class system because we are just one color people. So there was nothing like racism. They created a class system where they have and they have not. So they led the country for all the years. Now, 1980 came, of course, we had the indigenous president, but he came and created his own tribal form of leadership. It destroyed the country. Now, by the time we hit 89, the class and the traditional people within the tribal system, it crushed our entire democracy. I mean, everything that we should have achieved, it got crushed. We went to war. At the end of the war, the warring faction leader felt that the best way they could reunite the country is through warring faction leadership. They came, but they did not succeed. Thing went down. Now we started with the election. Taylor got elected. We had leadership problem, Ellen got elected, we got leadership problems. So right now, the 1847 group created a class system. The Samuel Kanyando leadership created a tribal discrimination. Now, today in this era, we are looking for leadership, a leadership that will set the tone, a leader who will begin to look at what is right. What are some of the indicators? Because that leader should be able to look back and see why we went to war, what were the things that took us to war, and how can we put that together? And today, Mr. Weir is not living up to that standard. Guess what he's doing? He's mixing everything up from the past. He's bringing people in who certify his leadership style that does not represent the entire country, and he emboldened them to come and sing praises and other things to him. Now, where do we stand today? I believe that the ANC, and I will say this here, because that's the only hope. I don't care how Brother Moses feel today. I have to inject it because it is my instinct. When I look at Mr. Cummings' vision, and I'm discussing the thing based on where we are today, people will say July 26th, all the year is meaningless. When I see what Mr. Cummings has in place, and he defined what are some of his vision, how he hopes to achieve this.
You gotta come to your right hand small.
Yeah. All right. Let me just adjust my camera here.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
When I see what Mr. Cummings is really listing, like his firewire and how he's going to get things done, and when I see his focus area, that to me is giving me the sense that he has a target that he wants to accomplish. He has a roadmap. Now, if those things are not acquired or achieved by Mr. Cummings for some period of time, then it will give you and I a reason to say we are not ready. But Mr. Weir came with the 4 pillars. Brother Moses, you will agree with me. This July 26th, I believe Mr. Weir himself should have been the one to be the orator of this, to look at what he had done for the past 5 years and say, look at my 4 pillars. Look at what I have achieved. For example, look at electricity when we took over. Look where we are. Look at water throughout the country. Look at where we are with water. Look at the educational system. Look to where we are. I, George Weir, shouldn't be standing here today to speak as the orator. But I believe that things that were never achieved in the past, we are now seeing those things. But Mr. Weir totally took a 360 turn, and he's now bringing in, like what Brother Moses said, Papu, you strong. Papu, you strong. So again, we are stored in one gear. We are not going anywhere. And that is why today I continue to say that this coming election, we want to make this election on 3 principles. One, we want to focus on the democracy, on the demographic, that is the people. We want to look at the geographic to see what are the affected counties. And then, of course, it should be about the issue. The reason we are having this conversation is about the issue. While growing up, was part of a community of people that was disenchanted by the past administration during his young days and even during his adult days. But he saw this thing. So what is he doing today? Even though the people did not put in target indicator that they're supposed to put in place, what can Mr. Weir tell you right now? What can any seditious tell you? What can any Liberian tell you in terms of Mr. Weir's achievement? This is the eve of the election year. What can he tell you after 5 years? Nothing. And then where we are now, including the July 26th, at 175 years old. There's nothing here. So the struggle continues until we can get a better leader.
So Moses, quickly, again,
Yeah.
I don't want to listen. I don't want to perseverate on the things here tonight because remember, this is not a new conversation.
Correct.
Right? I just wanted to bullet quickly go through and give the people the opportunity to engage us as well.
Yeah,
so let's quickly look
absolutely.
at Liberia's achievements. From your perspective, what do you think Liberia has achieved? Not looking at George Weir. I'm coming. Not looking at not looking at George Weir, but looking at the country over its 175 years. What has it achieved?
Excellent question. And 175 years of political existence. Not everything that emanated from Liberia we will say is bad. Liberia made significant progress over the years. In the 1800s and early 1900s, Liberia was a champion for African liberation. Liberia played a critical role in helping other African countries in gaining independence. Liberia is a founding member of the SY Organization of African Unity, now referred to as the African Union. Liberia is a member of the United Nations. And these are institutions that stand for what? To champion the cause of what? Human rights. Liberia is a member of ECOWAS and other international organizations. ECOWAS is the economic community of West African states that seeks to promote what? Economic progress and development on the West African continent.
And regional peace.
Yeah, regional peace. So Liberia play a significant role in that. So let's give the country, an applaud for that. Liberia, before April 12, 1980, Liberia was a peaceful and stable country in West Africa. A lot of people from Sierra Leone, Guinea, Ghana, and other countries in West Africa, Liberia was considered the quote unquote little America. People went there to work and send money back home like we do now. So Liberia provided homage to a lot of Africans. Liberia made progress. In terms of leadership, like I said, the country was doing well until 1980 came. So over the years, Liberia has made some significant progress. I think we shouldn't let that just go by like that. Now let's look at the challenges over the years.
But let's not go to the challenges
Liberia,
now. I wanted
okay,
to
the
come to
progress.
that, but I also want Randy to add what
Yeah.
his perspectives on Liberia's,
Oh,
achievement
progress.
as
Yeah,
a
yeah,
nation.
yeah. Randy, go ahead.
As a
Yeah, Randy, go ahead.
as a nation. Do
Yeah,
not
Yeah,
do not look at Liberia on a we are and Liberia on a early Liberia on a
yeah.
tail.
Where the country
yeah,
Let's
has
look
been
at
over the
the
yeah.
years.
country
Yeah.
for
All right. So
175
so
years.
so so let me go with the projection, right? For
Yeah.
1847, boom, to
Yeah.
2022. That's
Yeah.
the rainbow
Hmm.
projection there. So let's look at the rainbow
Yeah.
projection, right? So the initial launch pad of the country, I know it was rough. People were trying to understand stuff, but then over that path of that rainbow projector, we achieved some things. But what we failed to
Hmm.
realize, we did not sustain those things, and we did not sustain those things. We destroyed them. And that's why today, when you look at the future presence today, the way we are doing things, it clearly squashed everything that Brother Moses has said. Because if we had retained some of those things, we would have been on a very good projector. Because remember what we always say: the future, the future. But look at the future today. Look at the future decisions that have been made. People will wonder when they see their fellow Liberians discussing things that they cannot imagine that they're in an era called the 21st century and people are making these kind of comments. So it is one thing to initiate an agenda, a program that you see the progress, but to sustain those things for the future is where I think we fail. So looking at where we are today, if you look at how far we have come, let's look at the Tottenham era, the significant progress we made. Let's look at the Turbo era. Let's look at the Dual era. Now, when you look at all these era, you will see some progress that will really give you a sense of hope. But when you look at what is happening today, the only thing we are left with is just the name Liberia and the few people are living over there. There is no sense of direction right now. We celebrated a 26th, that is our country, July 26th. And there is nothing you can point at or point to that will give you some sense of hope. Children are dying mysteriously. That means no security. The economy, people claim to have a better economy, but you cannot see the happiness in the people on the ground except for few who are benefiting. When you look at the infrastructure, when you look at the people relationship, you look at the entire government structure, you don't see anything that measure up. Now, let's focus on the human capacity. By the year 2030, it is being said that the workforce will focus on Africa. Where are our youth today? How many of them are really equipped with vocational skills or education to face the future? You and I, we are aging up. But if I were to ask you, Brother Moses, and anybody else here, do you really feel confident that the current population you're looking at right now is ready to take Liberia anywhere? No. Because why? We initiated a very good system. We failed to sustain the system, and everything breaks down. And as we restart the engine, we are still looking for parts here and there. So if you ask me, we are back to square one.
So
We
let's
are
look at
back
challenges. Let's look at some challenges because I'm a little eager now to open the line, but let's look at some challenges before we proceed. Uh, you know, one of the biggest challenges we always allude to the Liberian demise. Where is that? We blame the Civil War. But from my perspective, we didn't have anything infrastructure wise. We had system in place. We had we had a society that was harmonized to a greater extent. Our generation, Randy, you, Moses, and myself, we were respectful.
correct.
We're not indulging in the things that our youth are indulging in today. We didn't have a collapse in our young generation. We were very studious. We wanted to compete. We wanted to become the successor of our successors rather of our country.
Mhm.
But apart from those things, we really didn't have national development institutions that were taking the country to a meaningful destiny. So everything we want to blame on the Civil War, but there were countries that had civil war and they've bounced back so fast because of that sense of patriotism. And I continue to say that the sense of patriotism is what we don't have. When 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 the current setup now in the legislature and the House and the House of Senate and the House of the lawmakers, when these folks are playing duplicitous deeds, being deceitful. Some of them there are citizens of other nations, and they're proudly sitting there and holding back, you and myself and the others who in the diaspora profess to be citizens of other nations and don't want to give these patriots the opportunity to contribute to the country. That in itself does not go well for the independence of a free nation. How free is Liberia when Liberians are oppressing and suppressing the citizenship of born Liberians who want to return and contribute to the country meaningfully? Because I'll tell you, Randy, you know how much money you've sent to Liberia since you've been in this country. That's patriotism. You haven't taken your money and run off to another place to use it. The Mexicans are patriotic.
Mhm.
The Nigerians are patriotic.
Mhm.
But when we do it and we take our monies and we go and invest it, our own people on the ground want to suppress us. They want to bar us from the opportunities that they enjoy so that we can always just go and come running back. So this is not an independence for all Liberians. And I thought to say this because this is the reason why we is one of those challenges that we're faced with until we can become patriots,
Mhm.
that all of our expertise and contributions, irrespective of who you are,
Mhm.
can be put into Liberia. Collectively, our country can catapult into destinies that we cannot imagine.
And if you don't
How can you
have
tell me a country of 5 million people, we can find a new finance minister, we can find a new health minister with the compromise of integrity, uh, we can find a new agriculture minister. All of these people are, you know, uh, considered to be what? Uh, what's the word, Moses? Help me here. Conflict of interest,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
Conflict of
then we
interest, yeah.
find people to replace them when we're 5 million. That's the sense of patriotism. The very president is not patriotic. He's not patriotic.
Let me just say this quickly, if you don't mind, guys. All right, so we started in 1847 with a mindset, right? And then we went to war. Now, when we came out of the war, we should have redefined, set the tone, re-engineer our society. You spoke about patriotism. If anyone like you in that mindset prior to all the years that we had lost, because we had lost a lot of opportunity, I believe the end of the war, the beginning of our democracy, whether it's Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, whether it is George Weah, they should have defined our destiny. They should have defined our commitment. For example, let everyone be Liberia centric. The centricity of Liberia means what is right for you should be right for all Liberians. One, the challenges we have today as it relates to capacity, especially the human element of our country, is supposed to be key. Because in the presence of all the development you can carry on, if the human element is uneducated, you going nowhere. Because counting those human development index, there are significant and primary indicators to look at. And one of the primary indicators is the human factor. Because in order to compete, it is not the structure that is going to compete. It is the human element that is going to compete. That is why we look at what the development and expansion of human capacity. The next thing is the rule of law. The rule of law took us to war because we didn't follow the rule of law. It took us to war. But Mr. Weah failed to realize that these things were very important. If Ellen did not do it, Mr. Weah committed himself to 12 years watching what Ellen was doing. You would imagine someone who took 12 years of their life to watch an administration. But then when he got that opportunity, he would have known exactly what he wanted us to do. With the losses that we took out of the war and prior to the war, his leadership today should have given us some sense of direction that we can say, Brother Volcano, we know our challenges in the educational sector. We know our challenges as it relates to water and sanitation. We know our challenges as it relates to preserving our forests, because this president is working with professional Liberians who are now coming in, not as as full-time employee, but as contractor to help build this country. But you spoke about something very significant. You see, the national legislature, these guys in there, I'm sorry to say that they are not in the interest. They are not Liberia centric, because these guys are lawmakers for Jesus Christ's sake. It takes a sound lawmaker who has a support staff, whether it's trying to legislate a law, what are the risks associated with the law, what are the vulnerability of the law, and what are the consequences of the law you want to put in place. We just came from war. We have been reduced to nothing. And then you have Liberians that are wanting to come to this country to build a country. And then you put it in boundary. You see, when you want to develop, you remove boundary, because boundary bring about exclusion. When you want to develop, you remove boundary and it bring about inclusion. These guys are putting in place boundary that will further drive our country for the next 50 years, because it takes years. Our children were born in here today. It is going to take a very hard decision for them to think about Liberia like the way we are. Because think about our generation that left the massive exodus from 1989 to 2005. We are now in our prime. We are now becoming the second or third generation in the country we find ourselves. And now with the limited access to the young people back home, educational wise, commitment wise, dedicated wise, we don't have those things. So there are more challenges than what we can discuss here today. And it's all because
absolutely. And the point you just made, I just wanted to tease it quick before we run through quick. Moses has his kids here. Maybe one of his daughters came when she was a baby, right? But Moses, rest of his other kids were born here. Similarly, like me. But none of my kids born here have ever gone to Liberia. And so where's that sense of pride and where's that sense of patriotism? Where do they now say, oh, this is where my dad goes every year? I see now why my dad comes here every year. This is beautiful. This is where I want to come. This is where I want to develop. In fact, you know what? Dad, I will challenge you. I want to go to school here because I think the education here is stronger than America. But these things are not being provided. So these kids that were born in here, hundreds of thousands of children who will be developed, who will be educated, who will have a sense of, you know, commitment to a society, they will take all that energy and put it into this culture.
Yeah.
And Liberia will continue to be left behind.
Mm-hmm. True.
The very guys who come here and bring their girlfriends here to born and in the government,
Mm-hmm.
those children don't know Liberia.
Nope.
Those children will not have a sense of patriotism to Liberia. And that's why we don't have a long time.
Yeah.
We don't have a long time for us to really open the floodgate and say, listen, every native born Liberian, your country is here. Come on home. You are entitled to.
Yeah.
But don't come here, can't tell me, say you can't be a minister, you can't be this, you can't be that, you can't be this, you can't be that. You reserve all of that for all of you. But people who sit in our house, many of them have U.S. citizenship. Many of them have citizenship. Even the very George we are has citizenship of America or France. You know, so why are you being so duplicitous with you know with the country's progress? So we're gonna open the lines. I know there's a lot. Moses, we talked about illiteracy
Let me,
as part of. We talked
yeah,
about
let
the
me,
poverty
let me,
line. So
Yeah, that brought us to take on the challenges too, because I think you haven't spoken on that yet.
so I will throw the number out there while
yeah, let
talk.
me,
I will throw the number out, the number to call while you go ahead and talk.
sure.
All right.
Let me just say something quickly regarding some of the challenges. You guys spoke everything, and let me apologize. I've been having a little bit of a technical glitch in the background. That's why I keep running in and out. But one of our greatest challenges over the years, like you guys rightly said, is bad governance.
Mm-hmm.
We have had autocratic leaders, dictators.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we saw that with uh, the late Samuel Doe. We saw that with Charles Taylor. Mr. Taylor was a dictator. And we also saw that with other, tyrannical leaders in Liberia. And now we have another leader who is also practicing similar thing. George Weah is indeed an autocratic leader. He's concerned about himself. He wants everything for himself. Everything must be about him. And that's
Yep.
autocracy. You know, that's one of the significant challenges. These are conditions that laid the basis for the civil war that came, that claimed nearly 250,000 human lives, successive civil wars. We have a country where 48, more than 48% of its population is illiterate. Illiteracy is one of Liberia's foremost challenges. Another significant challenge we have in the country is
His internet is giving problem, I believe.
Yeah, he's buffering.
79% of the population lays on less than 10 US dollars. Where you know, you have a society where the educational system is underdeveloped, medical system underdeveloped, the social. In fact, there's nothing called social development in Liberia.
Nope.
If you are old, you are poor, the society looks the other way. We do not have system, we do not have services to cater to the underprivileged, even though the country generates millions of dollars on an annual basis. All of these areas remain untouched. So how do we move forward? This would be my proposition. We need patriots, people who love Liberia, people who care about Liberia. You need those people in the legislature. You don't want individuals that will vote on bills only because they stand to benefit individually. You
Mhm.
want people that will think Liberia. In the executive, you want a president that will think Liberia, that will put Liberia first. Not a president that will come in less than 6 months, put up over 47 condominium for himself
Yep.
and building mansions all over the place. You see, you need people that are more concerned about the well-being of the country. And I would like to pause there, gentlemen.
All right, if you're just joining us, this is the Issues Room. This is our
Are you there?
76th edition here. We're celebrating the 175th Independence Anniversary today for Liberia. We're looking at some of the issues that this country has faced over its existence, where we are, not much to show as a surviving nation for over 175 years. Because I used the word over 175 years, we came about in 1822. We just celebrated 200 years of existence. The Issues Room is on Tuesdays and Fridays, 7 p.m. Beg your pardon, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 11 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, the GMT, and we say in Liberia, Liberian time. Like us, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Uh, Invite a friend, share our link. We are the alternative social media platform. We discuss everything. I mean, everything and those things that matter. The lines are open now. Call 404 272 2808. Again, 404 272 2808. Engage us. Let's talk about what do you think you see Liberia like today, and what do you hope for come 2023? Share your perspective, and you have the opportunity to also send a request and just celebrate your family. So again, the lines are open. You can join us. So Randy, we looked at some of these issues that have existed over time. I know that you're tempted to go talk about the ANC and all of that. And there are a lot of political parties that looking at what this president is doing with his party. And in fact, I was about to say something, but let me just take this caller. The
Okay.
caller calls from a 07 uh, 33 number, and it looks like it's Georgia. Are you there? Welcome to the Issues Room.
Caller is not coming through.
Yeah, you spell it down loud. Can hear.
Yeah, the problem here is that I hold on. I have to do this. One of the connection here just stopped working. Go ahead, caller.
Caller is not coming through.
Thank you. So what's your hope for 2023? But then I think not democracy now because if you send money so that people got to vote for your choice.
People have the right to self-determination.
All right, you told us what you want. So quickly, send your request now. No, no, I mean message your independence message to your family and friends. Okay, all right, all right. Thank you for calling. We appreciate your time. Yeah, man. I technology has a way. Came back in the studio trying to make sure that everything was said and it's just not coming through. So we had to go the old school. But every now and then you got to be innovative. So that's where we are. But as I was saying, Randy, and
Yeah.
there's no way we can have these conversations and the politics
Yeah,
does not come through like you mentioned. Um, but come
we're
2023,
having.
are you not hearing me?
I can hear you. Go ahead. I can hear you.
Yeah, we are. We're hearing you. We're hearing you.
Yeah, yeah,
We're hearing you.
yeah. Come 2023, everyone is hopeful. Whether it's the CDC people because they still want to, enjoy, and whether it is the suffering masses because they want change. Do you think 2023, with everything that Liberia has gone through for 175 years, do you think 2023 can make a difference, irrespective of who become president?
Yes, there is a possibility for a positive difference, and there is a possibility for a negative difference. The positive difference will come from a leader who will begin to set a tune through his or her commitment to the challenges of things that we have in a country: education, health, uh, infrastructure, the environment, concessions, and collaboration with the people of Liberia. There is no other leader that I have seen so far among the three leaders right now, the Weir, the Porter, and the Cummings, that is up to the task like the way Mr. Cummings is. And here is why and how. Why? Because Mr. Cummings has his platform and his vision that he has begun to discuss with you, Brother Moses, myself, and the rest of the people in the country and outside the country. This is a transparent vision that you can
Let me
see.
pause you there, Randy, and I've heard you say this and repetitively over time, and even in your monologues. Having a vision and developing a platform or
Yes,
something, if you don't have the technocrats,
yes,
so an architect can draw the house plan,
correct.
but if the architect does not find the right engineers to build this structure
Yeah,
as it should be, as sound as the plan is, then
yeah,
of course the plan was good, but it didn't come to fruition.
yeah. But that plan
And
was not.
there's a tendency, and I've seen it, I'm old enough, I'm researched enough, and I've seen Liberia because it's a small place. You can just stay right there and know what's going on. There
Mhm,
is a tendency for people who may have good intention to be swayed by the people they bring around them.
no
So
doubt.
Cummings may have the plan, but is he going to be nepotistic? Is he going to be? Is he going to come with cronyism? These are the elements that change
and this is
for a
this is
positive leader. So
and
I
this is
want you to focus. Think
yeah,
about it.
yeah, and this is why, and this is now that these questions should be put forward, because in the past people have been very tight-lipped on asking this question. Our democracy have 4 components. One of the components has to do with freedom of speech, and that's why you see for me I'm very loud. I'm loud because I had learned a lesson from Mr. Weir. Mr. Weir has so many pap on the wrist, on the shoulder, on the back, and he got away with stuff. It's unfortunate now that Mr. Comey found himself in that situation. He has the platform, but you're trying to challenge the commitment to the platform, which is good, and I encourage every Liberian. The fact that he has a platform, I encourage Brother Moses, I encourage you, I encourage all Liberians across every spectrum to challenge him and say, how sure are we that this is going to realize something? Now, you spoke about the different plans, right? This plan that I'm looking at, it must be an action plan. You see, you can have a plan, and that plan you can make it to fail because you plan to fail. You can make a plan, but that plan should have an action to succeed. Now, it's 6 years. There is no guarantee, but what is guaranteed is 6 years. So let's say Mr. Comey is continuing to talk about fighting for the soul of the Liberian people, right? He's coming out with a far why and far how. We are challenging the process, but that can be measured when he is given that opportunity. The
Can you
6
hold
years,
your thought? Can you hold your
yes.
thought? I have a caller on the line. The caller calls from Delaware. Good evening, caller. Your name? You got a speaker, caller. I barely can
We're
hear
not
you.
hearing the caller. We are not hearing the caller.
What's going on here again
You have
today?
the on speaker. Is his phone on speaker?
Go ahead. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, we're not hearing that.
Hold on, Moses. I'm trying to get this stuff going. There you go. Go ahead, caller. You good? Welcome. Welcome to the conversation. Could you just lower your monitor?
Okay, yeah, I think I'm trying to. Am I good now?
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, I tuned into the show. Yeah, let me lower him a little bit.
Just turn it
Okay,
down completely.
yeah,
After that,
turn
I
off
can
his
follow.
monitor.
Is it okay now?
Go ahead.
Yeah. I think today's show was or is designed for us to discuss. You still not getting me?
We can hear you. I said, go ahead. You're good.
Okay. I think today's show was designed for us to discuss about the independence, of Liberia, how we came about, Ethiopia. But looking at the show right now, instead of talking about our independence, I see like we're running campaign and no discussion about politics. Can we just stick to our independence day today? I think someone got something to say about our independence,
And that's why you have the opportunity to go ahead and say what you want to say about the independence.
So, like, I wrote already to the chat room during the discussion. Most of the time when I hear people say Liberia are not colonized, Liberia are not colonized, but we forget something which is very significant, and I think we should discuss this. Liberia, the definition of Liberia are not colonized, but we all know from history that Liberia had a commonwealth. So then, what is the difference between a commonwealth and a colony? So I want to put this question to Randy to see what he
just hold quickly. Let me tell this caller. The caller from 762, please hold. I'll come back to you. The caller from 240, I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mane.
Yeah, so I wanted to just put this to Randy, so that at least we can put this to the public. What is the difference between a commonwealth that we all know that Liberia was a commonwealth and then we declare independence, and what is the difference with a colony? Can he throw a little bit light on that for us?
Okay, we'll come back to that.
But
Let me
look,
take the next caller. Thank you. Oh, I can call up waiting, Moses.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, caller from 7612. Are you there?
I'm still here.
The caller from 7612, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Hello.
Your name, yeah. And where you calling from?
My name is Musa V. Sako. I'm calling from Washington, D.C.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Happy Independence.
I'm enjoying the show, and I think what Jay Randy is saying, it makes sense. We need to change history in Liberia. Independent, it means something. It means you struggle and you got free. Liberia was not colonized. We need to spread a message so that we can at least change Independence Day to Constitution Day. But for it to happen under this regime, I doubt that. And I want to thank Jay Randy and all the other people that call in and the host to spread the news, that continue to spread the good news. And we need good leadership in Liberia. And the reason I'm saying this, I'm an economist and a banker. And I know the problems that is taking place in Liberia. For example, look at the currency. Today, they have printed $100 bill and $500 bill. They did not print $1 bill. They did not print $5 bill. They did not print $10 bills. And if you look at the economy and you go to Liberia, you want to buy something, if it costs $270, they will run it up to $300 because there's no change. $5 has disappeared, $10 has disappeared, $20 has disappeared, and before election, $50 will disappear. And who are paying the cost? It is the consumer. The government argument there was, oh, it is expensive to print smaller bills. If you are afraid to print smaller bill for maybe, for example, $1 million, you know how much the consumer would pay for that difference? If something costs $2.70 and the seller ran it up to $3, imagine how many transactions going on a day, and people are paying the inflation that is taking place.
Thank you.
If a gasoline costs $5.50, they will run it up to $6. So I would love to contribute towards that on your show one day, and Jay Randy show. I really love Jay Randy and I love this show, so I will definitely be calling in. Thank you so much for this.
Any requests for your loved ones?
Yeah, I mean, anytime Jay Randy has my number, you can call me anytime, and I will.
Okay. You see, the people even know how to call request again. I asked him never request. I asked him if talking about Jay Randy number. But man, you know what to call request.
Message Jay Randy. Send a message, a greeting out, my man, to family members. Yeah.
I don't believe in independence. The
Okay.
only request is to wish you guys
All right. Okay.
Day.
All right.
And to all
Thank you.
Liberians.
Thank you. All right. So, Jay Randy, if you recall, the previous caller said he had a question. What's the difference between the Commonwealth and the colony? Because he thinks that, like, at some point was colonized before independence.
Well, I don't know where he got that history from, because what we do know at the end of the Reconstruction in the United States, many blacks were eager to go back to a land where they would not be subject to any form of oppression. And they first went to Sierra Leone, but because of what they incur in terms of unhealthy lifestyle living, they had to transition into Liberia. But we do know that the reason we celebrate the bicentennial that made Liberia 200 years old this year, it showed that people were living there and they were not under any Commonwealth leadership but living their own additional lifestyle. And then when the ACS, the opposite version of the IOM that brought in refugee, the ACS in fact took free people back home. And there was nothing like colonization. The American government did everything they could have done through James Monroe and through the ACS. They provided a copy of our Constitution. They provide a similarity of their flag to our flag. They introduced the curriculum that we use in our school system, where we speak English. And all they did was they facilitated our process in sending governors from here to make sure that they put in place a process to start a wheel. So I don't know, after 1847, when the country finally decided that I think we can handle ourselves, somebody providing caretaker to you, but not oppressing you, I don't see where the colonization coming from. But when we look at the faces of African who fought for the independence, Steve Biko, you got all these different guys, Nelson Mandela, Robert Mugabe. I don't see anyone. And just to speak to, when you listen to Sunday Okusu, who always used to talk about the fight for African freedom, there's nowhere where Liberia is mentioned. I just think some people, I mean, it's good to come on the platform here, but I would encourage Liberians to, you're in a beautiful country where you can seek for information, and there are people around. Nowadays, you can stand right in your home on your phone and be able to seek for the information, but there's nowhere in our history of our leadership that we ever had anything that has to do with Commonwealth and stuff like that. We may have had Commonwealth leaders that came from Virginia, but they did not Commonwealth our country back then. They wouldn't provide a facilitation to move the country forward. But the facilitation would never sustain. See, it's one thing to sustain a process, I mean, to initiate a process, but it's another thing to sustain the process going forward. And that's why it's not happening in this country. And that's why you see today when you see Mr. Weir, and the other brother talk about, he talked about want to talk about independence. My brother, you got your shadow. There's no way you can move all your shadow moving. Everything that is happening today on the Independent Day, the factor here is it boils down to leadership. So no matter how we discuss the independence, it is not a stand-alone subject. It has a component, and that component is leadership. If we ignore the leadership of this thing, we can sit here for the next 100 years, nothing will change, because the power movement of our country depends on what are the agenda. This current administration is only giving people the trophy. Mr. Weir believed that when he gave you the trophy, the benefit stick with he and his government official. So you see many seditions today. People think I'm just talking about ANC. No, but let me focus on the seditions more. Sedition, this is what Mr. Weir has done for sedition. Mr. Weir has taken the football mentality into the leadership of his government. Whenever there is any election, Mr. Weir gave the Liberian people the trophy, and they're happy with it, and they run away. But the benefit that he's supposed to provide to these people, because it's on his platform, health, education, none of those things, Mr. Weir, giving back to the people. So he has conditioned the mind of our people that whenever they go into any election, they are only going to win. And after that victory, they don't care, Brother Moses, how they living, how they this. That's why today your fans, sedition will come and tell you the president will be there for 12 years. But what has he done? One reason they continue to say these things, they don't live in our country. Their needs are being met by the other country they find themselves in. And that's why when you ask them, can you go and live in Liberia for the next 2 years or 3 years? And Mr. Weir will tell you, I can't do that. How can you support a government, but you're not willing to go back to live? You and I in this country here, we live here. Obama live here. George Bush live here. Bill Clinton live here. But they serve in government. How can they not going back to Europe or to Kenya and say, all right, I'm done? But they're staying here because everything, each leader that served the American people. In Ghana, the leaders are staying in their country. In South Africa, Nelson Mandela was sick and refused to seek European or Western treatment because he believed in the system. So there's no way that we can discuss the Black 26 without looking at the leadership.
Let's take this caller.
So,
let's take this caller quick. You're coming, Moses, after this caller. Sorry.
okay.
Hello, caller. You called from Texas. Your name?
Yeah, Volcano, this is Kesali. I'm calling you from Texas.
Yeah, welcome, man. We're celebrating 26.
Yeah.
And if you're following the conversation, what's your perspective on this day?
I mean, it is a good thing that human beings should be, not just human beings, but anything that you have that lasts a very long time is something that, especially for life, let's just think for life, right? The longer you live, you are happy that God bless you, that you are able to live long, that you are able to come a long, very long way. But longevity should come with some achievement, because As a person, for example, I mean, if you have a long life with no achievement, what's the need of boasting of that long life? What's the need of boasting as a country and say, I am old? Oh, God has blessed this country. We've gone a long way. Nothing that we can actually point to and say over the past 175 years that we can boast of this. That we can boast of this. It is sad, you know. There is nothing.
So what is your hope? What is your hope for 2023?
2023, I mean, you are calling hope.
That's what we've been doing. We've been hoping every time we hope for change.
Yeah, we've hoped for a very long time.
There's nothing to hope for.
I know, right?
While we were hoping. When people singing songs, they say we more born this, that, more born this, and all of that. We kept hoping on Chancellor or coming, like, no, we're all over the place. Who have killed the people. Let Chancellor come and redeem us. He's bringing Verita. He's going to do this, he's going to do that. When Chancellor came, Madam Sadiq came the same way we were still hoping. Judge React came, we were still hoping for change. Here we are still hoping 175 years. And you know what gets to me the most is that, all of these people who have come to power, the biggest market over the past 40 years is that corruption is the biggest enemy. All of them, from Senator to all of them, from our childhood days, I listen to President No, he said corruption.
Mm-hmm.
Even the opposition, we all said corruption.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? All of the government that come to pass have fight this one virus called corruption. So where are we going? Are we still hoping? Then we'll cry and say, we're waiting for God to come. God is not going to come down to give up manna. If you listen to all of the Americans, all of our international colleagues who have spoken about Liberia corruption, they always tell us that we have to fight this case. All of them. There was no longer I ever told they were coming to fight the case for you. Liberians, we have to fight for ourselves. If we cannot find the political way to do it, we'll have to find a radical way to do it. The best thing I think we can do as Liberians is to protest, hold our governments to the feet. The legislature, hold them in session, keep them in hostage until they can pass some of the laws that will benefit the country. Hold them in hostage, especially in the legislature. I'm not going to the executive. The legislature has the power and will to do the change in our country. Only we can hold them, hold their feet to the fire. We're begging them. That's one thing that's not going the way we're going. And what surprises me the most is that we are divided in the fight against corruption. Like even we are divided.
And not even just corruption, just divided across the board for anything, anything good for our country.
Exactly. Like for example, right now I'm here pushing for corruption. But if my brother was indicted tomorrow and say he's corrupt, guess what? I'm gonna go in his defense. Instead of saying let the law prosecute him and let him be found guilty or free, I'll go step for my brother. It's my brother that's fault. My brother never did it, or my mother or my father never did it. Until we can come together as Liberians and say we will fight this disease, which is the most, difficult thing to do right now in Liberia. Corruption is our major problem. And until we can put together as Liberians and say we will fight it, other than that, we are where we are. We will keep hoping a long time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our political desire, our political institution will support them. How sure are we that we are better going to fight it 100%? Thank you. That's the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, let me take this caller quick. The caller from Massachusetts.
Yes, sir. How you doing, guys?
We're good, good. Your name?
Okay, excellent. Hey, my name is Dwalu.
Hey, Dwalu.
What's going on, brother?
We're doing good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. I didn't know about the corruption thing, but I have to make a comment before I say what I wanted to say. Corruption is not our problem. Corruption has never been a problem in Liberia. I'm singing today. I believe Liberia's singular problem is the refusal to enforce the law. Corruption will happen. If you enforce the law, we can address that problem. There's a whole lot more that I'll get rid of the whole people of the Liberia has but one problem. But that's the reason why I called tonight. I want to think. I don't know if you guys had a chance to read her speech today.
Not yet.
Okay, you have to read the speech. You know, this is why bothers me the greatest. When we take government position, and everything we do is to appease our handler, in this case, President Weah. The entire speech was pandering, it literally kowtowing to President Weah today. She's talking about equitability in the system. She's talking about people like you and I that sometimes have these talk shows that we don't give any recommendation to the government. All we do is criticize, which is a big flat lie. People forget that they have a great responsibility to this country when they take a government position. They entirely forget this. You talk about things as though you don't live in the country. How hospitals are okay, how the schools are improving, everything in the country is improving, yet there's still people criticizing the government. This is the speech I was giving today by this woman. All she did was to appease President Weah. He picks the people that go to appease him. And yesterday we say about the sideline while our country literally going together. I know you saw some of the tips today from Liberia regarding the protest, what was done today, and absolutely nothing will become of this. This is what brings about brings about war. When I realize that I have no more redress in the country, I'm going to protect myself. If protecting myself means taking up arms, and that's what people do, go war to other countries before. We cannot continue to accept this. We cannot continue to accept this. I was seeing a problem in the country. It is not negligence on the part of government officials. It's not corruption. It is the refusal to enforce the law by the three branches of government. And most of this, with the water downing of the LSCC, with the government literally, with President we are literally dismantling any anti-graft institution in the country, refusing to do so anything that brings about accountability, he has refused to do it. This is our problem. This is our problem. And thank God for the show.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you. That was a powerful point. You know, when you think, and you know, I thought about it over time that the lack of rule of law and implementing the policies and procedures that hold people accountable is the reason why corruption continue to exist. Moses, you wanted to come in, and sorry that I had to take that call. Go ahead.
But look, let me just piggyback on what the caller said. And when the show started, we clearly articulated that the selection of orators from within government cycle, the primary objective is to shower praises on Mr. Weir. And that's just what today the Minister of Commerce did, according to the caller. You never expect anything different from that. If I had been, in fact, that speech must have been read and approved by the presidency before she even delivered that. Because if she had done anything contrary, she would not have been Minister of Commerce by now. They would
But
have
maybe
terminated her immediately.
she did not even write the speech. She
Yeah,
just
they may
wrote
have
it.
written and just gave it to her to read. Yeah. So for this woman to argue that everything in the country is well, it seems that she lives in fantasy. She lives in a dream world. You know, with the economy, everything in shambles, the rule of law, the safety of the people being endangered, and for this woman to come and shower praises on the leadership, you know, it just tells
Moses, the
you,
own ministry.
the level of hypocrisy
Our
in our
ministry is
country.
not even
Yeah.
functioning the way it should function. There's no price control in the country. Substandard goods.
No, nothing.
Business people
Yeah,
continue
nothing.
to punish
Yeah.
the ordinary
Mhm.
people who can't even afford. Every day you get to buy building material or food, they just tell you, say, hey, the ministry just came up with new price, so we have to carry our products up. That's what they're doing over there. These
No
people are
control,
just getting rich. Randy, these people
of
are
course.
getting something rich.
Yeah,
Everybody trying to get rich overnight. And
yeah.
let me comment on the previous caller that talked about Liberia being colonized. I agree with you, Randy. History tells us that Liberia did not experience colonization. And I think our caller need to understand that, yes, when the free slaves left the shores of the Americas and went back to Africa, those that settled in the ACS secure free land and they govern their own affairs.
Yeah.
It's not like what happened in Sierra Leone. In Sierra Leone, the British administered the affairs of Sierra Leone. In Ghana, the British administered the affairs of Ghana before gaining independence. The same thing happened in La Côte d'Ivoire. The same thing happened in Guinea. The French people administer the affairs of those countries. When until those countries gained independence, everything they did was what? Administered by the French. So the distinction between Liberia and those countries is that Liberia administer its own affairs with the support of the ACS, with the support of the Americans. So Mr. Small need to understand that Liberia was never colonized. History would not lie. It's all over the place. Like you said, Randy, just a little bit of research would have helped my own friend and brother, Dr. Augustine Small. Liberia did not experience colonization. Liberia had the opportunity to administer its own affairs before gaining independence on July 26, 1847.
Professor, if you think about this, right?
And that's the clarification. Yeah.
Quickly, I just want to find the callers.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The callers. The number is 404-272-2808. We have about 28 more minutes. We said the show would be 2 hours, so we'll be out of here by 8:59, 59 to 9 o'clock sharp. So you still have the opportunity to call. Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's the irony here, right?
Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah. Here's the irony here. How will Liberia be under colonial rule when the black were free, running to Africa, and then you get America going there again to go and hijack them? Look at the logic there. How you think the world will look at? Oh, you're free. Oh, we ran away from you. You come here now. You can hijack them.
You can't control us again.
And I think the only thing the American Colonization Society did was just to send some people who understood formation of a community, a colony, and support these guys.
Exactly.
And they were able to work together, but they were not suppressed. They did not
administer their own affairs.
So the colonists, the very people that came as the freed Americans, were and of black descent, were the ones that came.
They may have come from a state that is considered to be a Commonwealth, but they did not apply that Commonwealth logic in Liberia because it would have been a different story today. Yeah. But let me say this a little bit here to the orator of the day, right? You see, the failure of this government, and I will consider it as a primary failure, is the fact that they receive budget every year. Each budget is distributed in the different ministry agency. But one thing they have failed to do is to provide a progress report throughout the precedent 5 years. So to have the combat minister coming out and saying the government is doing well, where are the reports that we can hold and go from place to place and say, okay, you spoke about electricity, right? What percentage of electricity have you covered all the 15 counties? You spoke about security. How many counties are not having mysterious death across the country? We don't have none of the data, absolutely nothing. But from the Papu strong philosophy, so you bringing somebody to talk is boogers. It makes no sense. But it just goes to show that when you worship this president, you will get everything. And let me say this, Mr. Weir is the first president in 21st century to receive the highest recommendation in the history of Liberia. Why? Many Liberians across the world, even in Liberia, use the platform to give Mr. Weir every advice. You will bear with me, everybody. But what will hear people say when you provide constructive criticism? The man looking for a job. The man looking for a job. They don't understand what you say. Yes, the man looking for a job. So if she came out and said, oh, the people just criticize, that's not true, including myself here, who supported the CDC. I got audios where I said, Mr. Weir, when you accept these ministers, let them give you 3 to 5 year vision plan. Let them give it to you. Did Mr. Weir listen? No, never listen. So I will look forward to the opposition, and I will look forward to the media tomorrow, segment by segment, starting from tomorrow, to break down the president, that orator message, and simplify it, match it up with things that Liberian had done, to discourage that message because it is nothing but a complete disinformation. Not even misinformation, but disinformation is complete lies. Let's put it that way. I leave it at that.
And you know, when you consider these kinds of shameless behavior by these folks, all because they are increasingly getting wealthy at the expense of their own people.
Yeah.
How patriotic you are. I mean, patriotic rather you are. That's what I said. There isn't any patriot yet.
Nope.
You look at the construct of Liberia today, the government and the civil society and all these people. It's all about what's in it for me. 175 years of what's in it for me.
Look at it.
How will my family get fed? How would I sustain my extra trivial activities? Multiple things I put my hands in, but I don't have the income to sustain it. So I want to do everything to trample on the goodwill of other people, the education of other people, the good intent of other people, just to sustain my lifestyle. This is what we are showing to us. This is what George Weah is showing to us. He wants
the entire 3 branches of government
that he lost.
Yes.
As a result of playing soccer,
yeah.
because he squandered his money and he misappropriated his money, he misused his money. So he gets this opportunity on the semblance of popularity.
Yeah.
And so he wants to enjoy and regain that lifestyle and sustain it. And of course, yes, he will sustain the lifestyle. He definitely sustain the lifestyle because if not, he's richer than the country. Let's take this caller from Ohio. The caller from Ohio, welcome to the Issues Room. Your name?
How you doing?
We're great. Your name?
Joseph Tambai.
Welcome to the show. I'm sure you're following the conversation.
Yeah.
What's your contribution?
I listened to you guys just now, and I understood from one of you that Liberia did not go through colonization. The person was wrong. The person is wrong. Liberia was colonized.
Make your case. Make it quick.
Was colonized by the ACS. If you define colonization, of course you will know that Liberia was colonized. The process of settling among the established the action or process of setting among and establishing control over indigenous people or an area. That's colonization.
All right, so let me hold you there quickly. Let me hold you.
Let me just put a question to this caller.
No. Are you listening to me? Can you listen to me quickly? You said that the colonization society was established to put a hold on the native people, right?
I did not say to put hold on the natives.
What did you say? You said to lead the native people, right?
No, I said Liberia was colonized, and I defined the colonization as the action or process of settling among them, establishing control over the indigenous people.
So then you said native indigenous is the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So you said the colonization society was to put a hold, to control. You use the word control. Control is the same as put. Okay, so so to put a hold. Okay, but here what it is: the American Colonization Society was established to repatriate the free slaves and give them some guidance to establish a nation. They did not run the country. They did not colonialize the country. They only came in. It's like I come, I say, "My man, I'm going to help you build your house." As soon as I set a house up halfway, I pack my bag and I leave, and you live in your house. That is what it was. There was no colonization.
So, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? Where's the historical evidence to this argument?
No. No, you told me. No, no, no. Hold on. You said. Oh, but you're not asking me. You said Liberia was colonized. So tell me the leaders who were there before 1847. You're supposed to be telling me since you said Liberia was colonized.
So as KCF brought the Liberians back to Liberia from America to Liberia.
The people that but the people that came from America, the free slaves, the free black slaves that came from America had no tie to any nation. They came from the continent, and they happened to settle
And they
on
came
what
back home.
Nigeria. So let us get this straight.
I understand it. I just want to differ with some of those who say that it was never colonized. Colonization is colonization. You don't have to be colonized by a country before you are colonized. An organization can colonize you. Your uncle can colonize you. Not only your father should colonize you, your cousin can colonize you. It don't have to be your mother.
All right, my brother. Thanks for your contribution. It's just a whole nother can of worms. The time was sort of made open noise when they were in elementary school. They took hold on, Moses. Let me come put the humor in. All of us were in school. They argue. Old man, grown man, like that. Now he won't argue. He said he got facts. You were in school. They were teaching you. You took that thing. You ran with it all through your life.
Where's the evidence?
You graduated knowing that Liberia was never colonized, as in the term colonization. And today now we're celebrating 175 years.
In the truer context of the word.
Yeah, the truth. That's why I gave you that analogy, right? Randy, I come to you and say, hey, I want to give you help, right? Because you need to establish yourself. And the ACS was established for that purpose, to help these people, because they didn't know where they were going. They only heard about a continent.
Let me try to put it. Let me try to put it into a context. You see,
go ahead.
And they had in the ACS. Go ahead.
Was it you are speaking? Was it?
No, go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead. I'll give you the chance. Go ahead.
Thank you, guys. So we have been victimized by the poor structure of our education from back home. And this is the problem that existed for a very long time. The here and there history we have that Brother Moses is asking for evidence. Most of the time we get the history by maybe on the tree top, but there haven't been a really concrete curriculum that presented these things. When you look at the American Colonization Society, it was purely established to repatriate free blacks over there. Now, what the brother failed to understand, these people were taken from here. If they went after they settled them, the ACL left, and they decided to oppress the people, it is not the ACS. Let's look at the forward future. Refugees that were resettled to America here. They brought many Liberian refugees through the IOM process of the United Nations, right? Some of them came to begin successful, some of them came to begin gangster. Should we say the behavior of Liberians here should be the reason for the IOM that brought here? Absolutely not. So why he trying to take individual behavior on a country and accuse the ACS? If the ACS guy was still alive, they would be calling in the Syria today and say, "My man, don't accuse us here. We were just a photo between America and back there." But again, it boils down to people level of understanding. And so when they present the kind of case, like to Brother Moses' point, where do you have those evidence? And one thing you must always do to Liberians, we should challenge when it comes to this kind of misinformation, because we have been I mean, if you look at some of the terminology that we use back home, it's quite different from here. So they are entitled to their opinion, but I think when it comes to the facts, because opinion can become an opinion if it's not supported by facts. When you have the facts, your opinion turns into a fact because it is supported by some document evidence. He's just speaking because we allow our ego to continue to hold our perception of things, which is wrong. But I think the focus here today, all right, is to look at the failure of this government. What is the next way forward? Next year, election year, we will be going into another July 26th. Today, there are many Liberians that went to bed on empty stomach, but then you have Minister Dees coming up and telling you that Mr. Weah has succeeded. If Mr. Weah has succeeded, what are the proof, or where is the proof that Mr. Weah did extremely well? Women are crying every night because they lost their child or children. Kids going to school, they're getting drowned. People are being victimized in so many ways. Government officials are going to work, spending more money on transportation than getting their pay. But you see Mr. Weah going from place to place. Mr. Weah had narrowed himself to nothing. That even the football he became Ballon d'Or of, he sat on the sideline, he stood on the sideline of the national team and the guy whipped. You see, the only thing everybody will agree with me with Samuel Kanyando, as a military guy, he strengthened the military. Yes, he gave everything to the military. George Weah, who claimed to be a footballer, the least thing you expect George Weah to not be focused on is to give the Lone Star the highest support. He never did. That just speaks to who he is, a very selfish individual that got no feeling for nobody else but people.
Very egocentrical. Very egocentrical.
That's what he is. The last thing that man should have done is football. To say, you know what, if anybody say anything bad about Weah, I need to say, we have put Lone Star to places. But look at the team today. That is who he is. Every behavior you found today in all the government officials that worship Weah had downloaded his behavior into them. Everything you see in our country, the way the country runs, is the inner part of Weah that he has become and presented to us as the external part of who he is. You either praise him or you out of his way. And that's why the country is the way it is. And that's why the Independent Day is the way it is. But I would say this, the Independent Day of Liberia to me is the question. Why should Liberians who living as slaves in their own country, insecurity with economic hardship, why should they celebrate July 26th? Why? Because when we claim to fight for independence, it's very difficult. So I'm thinking that I think we need to focus on our Constitution, replace the July 26th with the Constitution Day, and begin to ask ourselves, what is the Constitution doing for us when it comes to how we live among ourselves? Because it is the organic law of our country that everyone should respect, whether it's our natural resources being equally distributed, whether it is the rule of law that we must follow, whether it is providing good governance. What are we doing to actually measure up to our Constitution? In Denmark does not celebrate Independence Day. Ghana does not celebrate Independence Day. Nepal does not celebrate Independence Day. Thailand does not celebrate. Even Canada next door, these countries do not celebrate Independence Day. They have different reasons on the day they establish themselves to celebrate for a reason. And I think if we focus our mind on these things, we will become a better country, because Mr. Weah has divided the minds and our people into believing that he is doing well just by putting up the little pet projects, and they think that how they measure their success. But the 15 county we have, if Mr. Weah is doing portion in one county, does that represent the entire county? No. What has Mr. Weah done when it comes to decentralization? We went to war because of inequality in leadership. Today, the good commission is supposed to help our country elect superintendents and what? Mayor. How much effort has Mr. Weah made towards these things? Absolutely nothing. Today, we're supposed to be able to drive across the country. What has Mr. Weah done in terms of that? Nothing. The LACC just recently released a financial audit report of the agriculture minister. Instead of Mr. Weah allowing the process to go through, what did he do? He stood with that woman taking photo up with a guy from the Middle East. His member in the House had gone beyond, and they said instead of amending the authority of the LACC, they dismantled that entire structure to kill that finding against the agriculture minister and saying that people will reapply and then it will come from the fourth estates, the government, and member of the House of the Legislature, who that is part of the government. So what is Mr. Weah doing? Sedition put their life on hold for 12 years. They continue to age in life. Mr. Weah in that process did not put his life on hold. He worked for Ellen, he worked for the UN, and then in 2015, they gave Mr. Weah an opportunity to become senator. His life was not on hold. They turned around and gave him 6 years. Out of 5, what can Mr. Weah show to the Liberian people? The condominium, the luxury life. But when you look at those who put their life on hold for Mr. Weah, absolutely nothing they can show to you. Let all ask Eric County to give us 10 individuals who managed to acquire some vocational education under Mr. Weah. Absolutely nothing. You can take Mr. Weah full bill, get a pen, express every bullet point over 100, and ask Mr. Weah for education and training. How much percentage have you gained for sanitation and hygiene? How many percentage have you gained? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. So Mr. Weah is not just a dream killer, but he's killing the future of the future generation to come. And if we don't get rid of Mr. Weah now, Brother Moses, I want you to question what we are doing today, because he's going to destroy that country for the next 50 years to come.
Moses?
Yeah. I would like to, I know time is fast spent, but before I wrap up, let me try to take this time to provide a little bit of education. We've been talking about colonization, right? When you colonize, you take over an area or a group of people with the sole purpose of what? Extending state authority. Did Liberia experience that? Did the Americans go to Liberia, take over Liberia, and administer Liberia as a subset of the United States? That did not happen. Liberians administer their own affairs. So it means that Liberia was never colonized, even though the founding fathers of Liberia were what? American free slaves. But that does not in any way mean that that America had absolute control over Liberia, like what you saw happening in Sierra Leone. The British had absolute control. The British had absolute control of Ghana. They decided what happened. The French did the same thing in Africa and other French colonies. So for someone to argue that Liberia was colonized, maybe we need to set up some tutorial here, for history. But I would like to stop there and agree with all of you, like Randy said. I'm one of those who strongly believe that come 2023, re-electing George Weah will endanger the future of Liberia. Mr. Weah is completely disengaged. I have said this consistently, and many people have said it. Say that again. And said, "Oh yeah, he just produced another song. He's a musician. He's more committed to producing songs than addressing the social and economic challenges of Liberia." And this doesn't mean that the CDC people running all over the place. They want another 6 year, another 6 year, another 6 year. Then what happened to the future of the country? You have a president who doesn't know what is happening in his own country politically. He's completely disengaged. He doesn't know what is happening in the area of education. He doesn't know what is happening in the area of health. He doesn't know what is happening in terms of social development. He rarely speaks to Liberians. He does not speak on national security issue. So you re-elect George Weah as president again for 6 years? What will happen to Liberia? That is not a campaign for a particular candidate. We are just being honest. We are just calling a spade a spade. That George Weah lacks the ability to lead Liberia again for another 6 years. So come 2023, Liberians will have to decide whether they're going to move the country forward or re-elect George Weah and endanger the future of the country. And let me pause there.
So, gentlemen, we have 5 minutes, 6 minutes to wrap up. But I think you all, have covered grounds. And I will continue to reverberate my stance. And it's just honest here. We don't have patriots. We don't have people who will look at a situation and say this is wrong. And today's Liberia, I go to that country every year. And the reason that, we can stomach to go to Liberia under these arrangements and the situation is that patriotism. I've been in America for close to 25 years. I've never visited any other country to say I'm going to go for vacation. I've been going to Liberia since 2009. I've invested a lot of all my lifetime earnings in that country. That's patriotism. I didn't go to Liberia to take out of Liberia to bring to the diaspora, like some of them are doing, buying homes all over the place here. We know it. They come around here in the Philadelphia area. Once they start drinking Guinness, they talk plenty. And they get hard a secret, you know. And Randy, you
They
know that.
made some disclosures, right?
Yeah, yeah. So where's the patriotism for us to move our country forward? So when you have a National Independence Day, the thrust of the day is, and I say thrust of the day should be for us to reflect and build a capacity to continue to move forward.
Absolutely.
But that is not the case. And shame should be on the Commerce Minister, because I don't think that in her level of education she would have written that kind of, as you said, disinformation.
Yeah.
I don't think she would have written that with regards to her intelligence. But she wants to be a part of the gravy seeking and the gravy licking.
Yeah.
Because if my winner was so professional and was doing well in Detroit, why go to Liberia, take a government job that you're compromising yourself for tomorrow?
That's a valid point there.
Okay?
That's a valid point. That's a
Yeah.
valid point. Let me say
It's
something
like
quickly.
about doing well.
Let me say something quickly here.
Yeah.
It is being alleged, because I haven't dug into her past, but I'm hearing that she served as some type of president of a university. What happened to the core value? What did she owe?
No, she was not a president. She was not a president. I researched it. She was never a president.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whatever she did in that at that university or college, what happened to those values? What happened to the value? Because as an educator, you are always there to bring the truth to power. You are always there to bring the truth to the well-being of the people. So everything she had been taught or she had committed herself to do it in this country, she threw everything under the bus today.
Oh yeah.
That's what she did. And that
Yeah,
is a shame.
and so I just wanted to complete my thought. That's why a lot of them leave here. You know the folks here, they're trying to get these quick degrees and then to go back to Liberia to get in government position, because that's how they can build their financial capacity. But let's do a quick analogy. We look at Tala Kuampa, a woman with a master's degree in nursing, left here to go to Liberia and to become a public servant. She didn't go to Liberia, and I like that story. She didn't go to Liberia seeking a minister's job, a deputy minister's job. Of course, she was qualified if she's working in the Ministry of Health, right? But she goes to handle a department, and she's trying to make sure that things are straightened up. But the same corrupt system discourages her effort. But because she felt she was doing well in America, she packed her bag and came back. And I'm sure with her professional expertise, she should be working. She should be doing well. And it will be the same for me. If I left this country and went back to Liberia and I got there and I think that what I'm trying to do is not aligned with what they want me to do, right? Then, of course, I can pack my bag and return and be a proud man. But that's the problem here. So when all these people continue to just soak up in the sponge of Mr. Weah, our country is in a dangerous place. So the message in closing for us to have a better 26, 2024, 2024, Weah should not be president again because he's shown everything already in these 6 years. They came, he came deliberately. He came deliberately to replenish his wealth,
Yeah.
and he's done it. And he would do it even further if
Mhm.
the Liberian people act stupid. That's my last message. And it's 9 o'clock. So, gentlemen,
Yes, sir.
well, thank you all for this opportunity to have discussed, our country. Again, I don't see I don't see where we're gonna fear this because quite frankly, I can't stop talking. I'm not afraid to talk about what is true.
Yes, sir.
It is.
I ain't waiting for nobody to put something in my pocket.
Yeah.
I'm not
No.
standing on the sideline.
Yeah.
I put my cash. Put
Oh
something in my
man.
and I will be like this until I die.
Yeah.
I don't see
Yeah.
myself. I will not see myself, and I give God the glory to regret the point that I will succumb to a man like myself. Only God,
Absolutely. Yeah.
only God I look up to. So my
Yeah.
confidence is in God.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
again, gentlemen, I say thank you so much for the opportunity. All
Yeah.
the folks out there who joined us, it was good having you folks in the house with us. I want to quickly run down the list. Agnes Barkley Young, Christine Ladner. I'm sure some of these folks is from Randy's podcast. Thank you for bringing some of your folks over.
Yeah.
Probably with
It
Stephen.
was a great show.
Well,
That remain
Stephen
on
has
message.
to, man.
That
Even
remain
when,
on message.
Yeah.
That remain on
Yeah.
message.
yeah. I want to quickly
Yeah.
recognize Nathaniel Dibar, uh, my man Harris, foreign guy, Yumontro Krenga,
Yep.
James Starno, Valley Lowenthal. It was good having you here, Jennifer Thompson, Isaac Harris. Oh, what a wonderful way to celebrate Christmas. 26. I almost said Christmas. James.
Thank you.
July in Christmas. That July in
Yeah,
Christmas. So you're not wrong.
yeah,
July in Christmas.
yeah, that's true.
July.
We're looking forward to Christmas now
Yeah.
because 26 already gone.
Mhm.
But just everyone who showed up here tonight, we say thank you so much for joining us in the issues room. We hope to be back here on Friday
Yeah.
with another presentation. Moses, Randy, you guys go have
Thank
yourself a
you.
good night.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
so
Yeah,
much.
Thank you.
Randy. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you
Yeah.
for coming, Randy. It was a
Anytime,
pleasure
guys.
having you.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Any
Thanks.
topic, anytime. I'm here. Anytime.
Sure.
Just give me a heads up.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right.
Great.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for Canada.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
Bye-bye. Bye.
We also want to say thank you also to Mary Pratt, Helen Brown, Eric Dodsey, and Moses Summers. Thank you all for showing up. We'll be back here Friday, as I said, with another conversation. We, Yahweh Zulu, thank you also for joining us. We will be featuring um, an African American politician, uh, and that will be the first of its kind on our show. And so the conversation going to be extremely, extremely important. So I hope you folks will find time to join us on Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, here in the Issues Room. My name is Volcano Shelton, and I want to say happy 26 to all of you. Let's hope for the best. Liberia will be Liberia once again, and I know that in my generation and your generation, we will see something better. The only fear is that we must prepare the young generation after us, otherwise we'll lose our country. Well, definitely, because right now, as I speak to you, having gone to that country every year since 2009, the country now is being overrun by foreigners, and I don't know what we're doing to straighten that up. We're not saying that foreigners can be there, but Many of those people don't even have documents. Some of them are on Liberian, passports and all of that. So our whole system is corrupt. Like here in America, you follow the process to become legal. It's not happening in Liberia. So that would be a whole nother conversation we can hold because our country is falling in the wrong hands. Thank you so much. Good night.